Right now, as you are watching this, your DNA is being damaged, not because you are sick, not because something went wrong, simply because you are alive. Every single day, the DNA inside each of your cells experiences somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 individual hits. Scientists call them lesions. These are tiny breaks, oxidations, chemical distortions happening constantly, relentlessly, silently, inside every single one of the 37 trillion cells in your body. Think about that number for a moment. 10,000 hits per cell per day, and you have 37 trillion of them. Now, here is the thing that should genuinely astonish you. You are still here. You are functioning. You are thinking. And that is not luck. That is biology, doing something so extraordinarily sophisticated, so perfectly engineered, that the world's most advanced supercomputers cannot fully replicate it. Your body has a DNA repair system, a living, breathing, cellular repair crew that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, hunting for damage and fixing it before it kills you. But here is where the story gets complicated, and where your food choices become one of the most powerful decisions you will ever make. Because that repair system, it does not work forever. It does not stay strong automatically. It weakens, it slows down, and when it does, the damage accumulates. And accumulated damage is what we call aging. So today, I want to talk to you about one food, just one, that science has shown in real human clinical trials can protect your DNA, can slow the rate at which your cells accumulate damage, and can actually influence the very machinery of how fast or how slowly you age. But first, you need to understand what is actually happening inside your chromosomes. Because if you skip this part, the rest will not make sense. And I do not want you to just be impressed. I want you to understand. So let us go deep inside your cells together. Inside the nucleus of every single one of your cells, you have 46 chromosomes. These chromosomes carry your genetic code, your DNA, the blueprint for every protein, every enzyme, every structure in your body. Now, imagine those chromosomes as 46 individual shoelaces. Each shoelace has a plastic tip at its end. You know the one, the little hard cap that keeps the shoelace from fraying. In biology, we call those caps telomeres. And they are, without exaggeration, one of the most critical structures in your entire body. Telomeres are made of repeating sequences of DNA, the letters T, T, A, G, 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 repeated over and over again, hundreds of times, wrapped around specialized proteins. They do not code for anything. They do not make a protein. Their only job is to protect. They protect the end of the chromosome from being recognized as a break. Because if a chromosome end looks like a broken strand, which it does without telomeres, your cell's repair machinery will try to fuse it to something. And chromosome fusions are catastrophic. They lead to instability, cancer, or cell death. Now think about what happens to a shoelace when the plastic tip wears away. The shoelace starts to fray, thread by thread, and once it starts fraying, it cannot do its job properly anymore. That is precisely what happens to your telomeres. Every single time a cell divides, every time your body makes a new skin cell, a new blood cell, a new immune cell, the enzymes that copy your DNA cannot quite reach the very end of the chromosome. So with every division, the telomere gets a little shorter, a little more frayed. This is not a flaw in your biology. It is actually a safety system, because cells that divide too many times without checks become cancerous. So telomere shortening is in part a brake on uncontrolled growth. But here is the tragic trade-off. As telomeres shorten, cells eventually reach what scientists call the Hayflick limit, named after the biologist Leonard Hayflick, who discovered in the 1960s that human cells can only divide a finite number of times, roughly 50 to 70 divisions, before they stop entirely. When cells stop dividing, they do one of two things. They die in a process called apoptosis, or they enter a state called senescence, where they are still alive, but they have stopped functioning properly. And senescent cells are not neutral passengers. They are actually quite dangerous. Senescent cells release a cocktail of inflammatory chemicals. Scientists call it the SASP, the senescence-associated secretory phenotype. And this chronic, low-grade inflammation that senescent cells pump out is one of the primary drivers of virtually every age-related disease we know: heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, arthritis, even cancer. So telomere length is not just a curiosity, it is a biological clock, and it is a clock that you can influence. Now, I want to be precise here, because the science is nuanced. You have heard people say, longer telomeres mean longer life. And while that relationship does exist in large population studies, it is not purely linear. What matters just as much as telomere length is the rate of telomere shortening, how fast your clock is ticking, and that is where your daily choices become extraordinarily powerful, because telomere shortening is dramatically accelerated by three things: oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, and DNA damage that your repair system cannot keep up with. And all three of those factors are profoundly influenced, either worsened or improved, by what you eat every single day. Now, let me tell you something that most people do not realize. Your body has a built-in enzyme specifically designed to rebuild telomeres. It is called telomerase. And in certain cell types, stem cells, immune cells, reproductive cells, telomerase is actively working to maintain telomere length. But telomerase activity can be modified, it can be stimulated, and certain dietary compounds have been shown in peer-reviewed science to actually upregulate telomerase activity, to help your body push back against the shortening from the inside. This is where food becomes medicine in the most literal biological sense, not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. Literally, the compounds in certain foods enter your bloodstream, cross into your cells, interact with the enzymes in your nucleus, and change the way your DNA is managed. So now, I want to tell you about the one food that I believe is one of the most underrated, most scientifically validated DNA protective foods on the planet. And you probably have it in your kitchen right now, or you can get it at any grocery store for less than $1. I am talking about the kiwi fruit. Yes, the small, fuzzy, unassuming kiwi. And I know what you are thinking. Dr. Lee, you just spent all that time explaining telomeres and DNA damage and senescent cells, and now you are telling me to eat a kiwi? Yes, that is exactly what I am telling you. And here is why. In a landmark human clinical study published by researchers at the University of Auckland, a randomized controlled trial in real human subjects, participants who ate 2 kiwi fruits per day for just 4 weeks showed a statistically significant reduction in oxidative DNA damage, measured by a standard scientific test called the COMET assay, which literally measures how much your DNA is breaking apart under stress. Now think about what that means. In just 28 days, 2 kiwis per day, real, measurable, scientifically verified protection of your DNA. Not a synthetic drug, not a pharmaceutical, a fruit that you can hold in your hand. But why? What is actually in a kiwi that does this? And I want to go through this very carefully because each component is doing something distinct inside your biology. First, let us talk about vitamin C. Now, I know you have heard about vitamin C 1,000 times, but I want you to hear this differently. A single kiwi fruit contains more vitamin C than an orange, gram for gram, ounce for ounce, more. We are talking roughly 60 to 90 milligrams per kiwi, depending on variety. 2 kiwis take you well past the recommended daily intake. But why does that matter for DNA? Because vitamin C is one of your body's most powerful water-soluble antioxidants. And antioxidants are the soldiers that neutralize the primary attackers of your DNA, free radicals. Free radicals are unstable molecules with an unpaired electron. They are desperate, chemically speaking, to steal an electron from somewhere, and your DNA is a target. When a free radical attacks your DNA, it causes exactly the kind of oxidative lesion I described at the beginning. One of those 10,000 daily hits. Vitamin C donates an electron to the free radical, neutralizing it before it can attack your DNA. It intercepts the hit. It absorbs the damage that would otherwise land on your chromosomes. But here's the thing that most people do not know. Vitamin C does something else, something far more specific and far more powerful for your DNA repair. Your body has a whole family of DNA repair enzymes. One of the critical ones is called 8-oxoguanine glycosylase, OGG1, which specifically hunts for and repairs one of the most common forms of oxidative DNA damage. And research has shown that vitamin C actually supports the upregulation of OGG1 activity. It helps activate your own repair machinery. So vitamin C is not just blocking damage from happening, it is also helping your body fix the damage that slips through. That is a double mechanism of action, prevention and repair, both from one nutrient, both from eating a kiwi. Now let us go further. Because kiwi is not a one-trick nutrient fruit, it is a symphony. The second major player in kiwi is a compound called actinidin, a unique enzyme found almost exclusively in kiwi. Actinidin is a protease, meaning it helps break down proteins during digestion. But here is why that matters for your cells. When your gut can break down proteins more efficiently, more amino acids become bioavailable, and amino acids are the building blocks of every enzyme your DNA repair system uses. More bioavailable amino acids means your cells have more raw material to build more repair enzymes. Your DNA repair crew gets better supplied. This is what I mean when I say that nutrition and cellular biology are inseparable. The kiwi is not just feeding you, it is provisioning your molecular repair infrastructure. Now let us talk about folate. Kiwi contains meaningful amounts of folate, a B vitamin that is absolutely essential for DNA synthesis and DNA repair. Not just for pregnant women, as the conventional discussion usually goes, but for every cell in your body, at every stage of life. Here is why folate matters so deeply. Folate is required for a biochemical process called the one-carbon cycle, a metabolic pathway that generates a molecule called SAM, which is the universal methyl donor in your body. SAM donates methyl groups to your DNA in a process called DNA methylation. Now, DNA methylation is how your cells control which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off. This is the field of epigenetics, and epigenetic control of your genome is one of the primary mechanisms through which aging happens, or is slowed. When folate is deficient, your one-carbon cycle breaks down. SAM levels fall. DNA methylation patterns become disrupted. Genes that should be silenced, like certain oncogenes, genes that promote cancer, can become inappropriately activated. And genes that should be expressed, like tumor suppressor genes, can become silenced. So the folate in kiwi is not a peripheral bonus. It is central to the epigenetic maintenance of your genome. It helps ensure your genes are being read correctly, that the right ones are on, and the right ones are off. And now I want to talk about something that very few people in the nutrition conversation discuss enough. Kiwi contains a remarkable phytochemical called lutein and its partner zeaxanthin. These are carotenoid antioxidants, and they have been shown to concentrate in specific tissues where oxidative stress is particularly high. One of those tissues is the lens of your eye. But here is the part that is more relevant to our discussion today. Lutein and zeaxanthin also accumulate in certain immune cells, and those immune cells need their DNA protected because they divide rapidly. Every time your body mounts an immune response, immune cells have to replicate their DNA at tremendous speed, which makes them particularly vulnerable to replication errors and oxidative damage. By concentrating in those rapidly dividing immune cells and protecting their DNA from oxidative damage, the lutein and zeaxanthin in kiwi are effectively protecting the genetic integrity of your immune system. And an immune system with intact, well-maintained DNA is an immune system that can identify and destroy senescent cells, cancer cells, and infected cells more reliably. So kiwi is not just protecting your personal DNA, it is protecting the DNA of the very cells that protect you. Now let me walk you through, minute by minute, stage by stage, what actually happens inside your body from the moment you eat a kiwi. In the first 30 seconds, your teeth break the skin, releasing a cascade of polyphenols and antioxidants into your saliva. Salivary enzymes begin the first phase of digestion. Even at this stage, the antioxidant compounds in kiwi are beginning to interact with the mucosal lining of your mouth. Within the first 5 minutes, the kiwi reaches your stomach. The actinidin enzyme in kiwi remains partially active even in the acidic environment of the stomach, helping to break down proteins from this meal and other foods alongside it. The vitamin C begins absorbing through the stomach lining into your bloodstream. By 15 to 20 minutes, the chyme, the partially digested material, moves into your small intestine. This is where the real absorption happens. The vitamin C, the folate, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, the polyphenols, all of them are being actively transported across the intestinal epithelium into your portal blood, which carries them directly to your liver. The liver is your metabolic headquarters, and here, at around 30 to 45 minutes after eating the kiwi, the liver begins processing these compounds. Lutein and zeaxanthin are packaged into lipoproteins for transport to target tissues. Folate is converted into its active cellular form, 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, and sent out into circulation. By 60 to 90 minutes post-consumption, vitamin C levels in your blood plasma have measurably risen. Studies show that after consuming 2 kiwis, plasma vitamin C peaks at around 60 to 90 minutes. And here is what that means at the cellular level. Every cell in your body has vitamin C transporters, proteins called SVCTs, that actively import vitamin C from your bloodstream into the cell's interior. So as plasma vitamin C rises, your cells begin importing it, concentrating it. The intracellular vitamin C concentration rises. And inside the cell, vitamin C is now available to directly reduce oxidized molecules, to recycle other antioxidants like vitamin E, and to support the activity of the DNA repair enzymes in the nucleus. By 2 hours after eating, the lutein and zeaxanthin have reached various tissues, including the immune cells circulating in your bloodstream. The folate has been taken up by rapidly dividing cells. The one-carbon cycle is being supported, and here is the thing that is so important to understand. This is not a one-time event. This is not like taking a drug once and waiting for it to work. The protection that Kiwi provides is cumulative. It is architectural. Every day that you provide your cells with these compounds, you are maintaining, day by day, the chemical environment inside your cells that allows your DNA repair machinery to function optimally. The research from the University of Auckland showed that it took 4 weeks, 28 consecutive days of eating 2 kiwis per day to see statistically significant changes in DNA damage markers. Because biology is not instant. Biology is consistent. Biology rewards regularity. Now, I want to talk about something that the science is increasingly exploring and which I find one of the most exciting frontiers in nutrition research: the relationship between kiwi consumption, gut health, and telomere biology. Kiwi is a remarkable prebiotic food. It contains a unique fiber matrix, primarily pectin, that is highly fermentable by your gut microbiome. When your gut bacteria ferment this fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids, most notably butyrate. And butyrate is not just fuel for your colon cells. Butyrate is an epigenetic modifier. It is a histone deacetylase inhibitor, meaning it influences the way your DNA is packaged and read inside the nucleus. It can promote the expression of genes involved in cellular repair, in antioxidant defense, and in inflammation control. And chronic low-grade inflammation, which the microbiome profoundly influences, is one of the primary accelerators of telomere shortening. Inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha directly stress immune cells, forcing them to divide more rapidly to mount inflammatory responses, which burns through their telomere length faster. So by feeding a diverse and healthy gut microbiome with the prebiotic fibers in kiwi, you are indirectly, but powerfully, reducing the inflammatory burden on your immune cells. You are slowing the rate at which their telomeres shorten. You are preserving the biological clock that determines how many more times those cells can divide and protect you. This connection between the gut, inflammation, and telomere biology is one of the reasons I am so convinced that eating for your microbiome is not separate from eating for your DNA. They are the same conversation. Now, I want to say something that I think is critical for context, because I do not want you walking away from this thinking that eating 2 kiwis a day is going to reverse decades of damage, or make you live forever, or replace medical care for serious conditions. What the science is showing us is this: there is a baseline rate of DNA damage that is simply biological. It comes from metabolism, from breathing, from living, and that rate can be meaningfully modified by the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and DNA repair supporting compounds in your diet, not eliminated, modified. And a meaningful modification, even a 20 or 30% reduction in the rate of DNA damage accumulation, compounded over years and decades, is the difference between robust health at 70 and frailty at 60. It is the difference between cognitive vitality at 80 and decline at 70. These small daily inputs, maintained consistently, create diverging biological trajectories over time. The kiwi is one of the most evidence-based foods for this trajectory, but it works best as part of a broader dietary pattern, one that is rich in diverse plant foods, that minimizes processed sugars and refined oils, that prioritizes whole foods with high antioxidant density, and that supports a thriving gut microbiome. Think of the kiwi as your daily DNA insurance policy, two a day, every day. That is the dose used in the clinical research. Not exotic, not expensive, not complicated, just consistent. Because in medicine and in biology, consistency is everything. Your DNA does not get a day off. Your telomeres do not stop shortening on weekends. The oxidative stress from metabolism does not pause on holidays. And so neither should your commitment to feeding your body the compounds it needs to protect itself. You now know more about your own DNA than most people will ever learn. You know what telomeres are and what happens when they fray. You know what oxidative stress does to your chromosomes and how your repair machinery fights back. You know why senescent cells are dangerous and how they fuel the inflammation that drives aging. And you know, specifically, mechanistically, precisely, why the kiwi fruit consumed daily can be one of the most powerful tools in your biological arsenal against the relentless clock of cellular aging. This is not a trend. This is not a supplement company's marketing. This is peer-reviewed human science, and it is pointing towards something beautifully simple, that the most powerful pharmacy might be in your fruit bowl, that the most sophisticated anti-aging technology on Earth might already be encoded in a small, fuzzy green fruit that has been growing in New Zealand and China for centuries. Take that seriously and act on it starting today.